Sky Williams was a legend for like 2 years back in my day. So we're gonna get into some old League Boomer lore, and I have some stuff to accommodate this to show you guys as we're watching
Sky
this.
Williams was once one of League of
Welcome
Legends'
back,
most
Lux.
beloved creators and comedians, posting gameplay videos, skits, parodies, and comedic vlogs to millions of viewers. However, 7 years, hundreds of videos, and millions upon millions of views later, Sky plummeted off of his pedestal, finding himself embroiled in horrifying accusations from various members of the gaming community.
He has
involving
disappeared
assault,
from the internet.
abuse, and financial deception. Perhaps no personality in League of Legends history has seen a downfall as swift or as dramatic as Sky's. Welcome to LOL Athlete, and today we're looking at the rise and fall of Sky Williams. Gregory Scott Williams, better known by his online persona, Sky, was born and raised in California. The youngest of three, Sky experienced hardship from a young age.
Damn, he's just like
His
me
parents
for real.
divorced before his
youngest
fourth
of three.
birthday. According to Sky, no more than a week after his biological father had moved out of the house, his future stepfather moved in. Sky has always been very public about the fact that he and his stepfather never got along, citing an argument between the two of them being a catalyst for his ultimately moving out on his own at 18 years old.
Daddy issues?
But we'll
Sounds
get
like
to
a
that
League
later.
player to me.
Growing up, Sky was a gifted student.
Sounds
an
like someone who would
athlete,
start
and
playing
a
League to me.
self-admitted bully. He was popular and well-liked, except for those he picked on, of course, up until he reached middle school. And around that time, as a result of his struggles back home, Sky
I
grew
think these details, maybe this one will be pretty important later on, because I know, like, I would say like decently what ended up happening with Sky. I think him admitting that he was a bully when he was younger definitely reflects in like how he carried himself as an adult.
until he reached middle school, and around that time, as a result of his struggles back home, Sky grew depressed. He became less social, gained weight, and began to lose friends. Eventually, he became the one being bullied, and his old victims were not quick to come to his aid. Sky claims that for the next
Sounds like
4
League
years,
player
he was
things to
more or
me.
less silent in school. When he did choose to speak, he was told to shut up, so he did what he had to do to get by, but not much else. At this time in his life is also when Sky realized that he was gay. His dad, being a conservative Christian who disapproved of homosexuality, and his mom, coming from a culture in Guyana where being gay was seen as a massive weakness, Sky decided he would spare his family the shame of coming out. While his family suspected he may be gay, and his siblings bullied him mercilessly as a result, he made a vow to never admit his sexuality to anyone. To cope with what was now a bad situation both at home and in school, Sky began to find solace in video
think
games. Where have we heard that before? Sky got specifically into Super Smash Bros. Melee, and quickly became a highly skilled player, regularly
I don't
beating
think that was
anyone that
kept under wraps
challenged
very
him.
well.
It's at this point that Sky says he became addicted to becoming the best. No matter what he set out to do, he always strove to be the greatest. He eventually stumbled upon online forums dedicated to video games and cartoons, and
Oh, dude, you know what? You know, like the Smash reputation today because of like what Sky did, and I think just because of like him starting like this kind of like avalanche effect within like the Smash community. Now, like the Smash community is just entirely labeled as fucking weirdos and PDFs. Like, it's crazy how the meme has stuck even till today, because anytime you mention Smash players, everyone is just like, oh, who are we talking about? Are we talking about the PDFs, or, you know, like, it's crazy.
other interests of his, and he heard of an upcoming Smash tournament taking place near his home. When he decided to attend, his entire life changed. Sky found an instant family within the Smash community. No one cared about his weight, his interests, and especially not his personal choices. He was able to play the game he loved.
Like now, whenever an allegation comes out against a Smash player, instead of everyone being like, oh my god, I can't believe it, everyone's just like, yup, like, we saw that one coming, another Smash player. Like, Twitter in its entirety aren't even like surprised anymore whenever something comes out about a Smash player.
spent time with people who had the same passions as him, and he cites his first Smash tournament as being one of the best days of his life. Sky began going to Smash events every weekend, but his parents certainly didn't approve of his new lifestyle, wanting him to focus instead on his grades and his future success. Around this time, Sky also became interested in stand-up comedy and began to try out jokes on his friends and opponents at the various gaming events he attended. After getting good responses to his jokes and building up his confidence, Sky decided to enter his high school's talent show as a comedian, and he ended up coming in first place. According to Sky, this completely changed his understanding of himself and his popularity in school. From that point forward, Sky wanted to be a
I think he should have figured out first
Shockingly, his parents
if
weren't
people were
super
laughing
supportive
at
of that
him
idea
or
either.
with him.
Go figure. All right, Mom, I guess you're right. Maybe video games as a career is a little
Just
risky.
my take.
What about stand-up comedy as a safety net? Sky
But I guess
also
as a
began
high school
posting
kid, you're not
comedy
really like
videos on YouTube
deciphering
around
that,
this
right?
time,
You just
with
want
his
it to
first
be
video being
cool.
published in July of 2008. At this point, his channel didn't consist of any gaming content, just skits and rants on various subjects, each with a handful of views, but he had officially dipped his toe into video production. At 18 years old, the tension between Sky and his stepfather reached a point of no return. After a huge fight, Sky decided he needed to get out, and he did just
There it
that.
is.
He packed his bags, left home, and moved to Los Angeles, where he began serving at Applebee's.
That's crazy to like. I mean, I guess he was already in California, but I feel like LA is like the worst place you could choose to move to if you get kicked out of your house. Like, especially modern day LA is like the worst place you could go if you're kicked out, bro. Like that place is it literally a GTA lobby, bro.
This same year, Sky's best friend died of bacterial meningitis, and his depression worsened, hitting a low point. While he still
that's
played
crazy.
Smash occasionally,
I didn't know
he
that
went
part.
out to tournaments less often. It was around this time, however, that Sky began playing a brand new, shiny MOBA called
Your ex was a
League of
Melee
Legends,
player? That's
and
why
he
he's your
quickly
ex
became
now.
hooked, much like the rest of us sad sacks. After a couple years at various Applebee's, Sky overheard a customer mention a stand-up comedy competition at a club called Flappers in Los Angeles, and on a whim, Sky decided to try it out. Out of 400 comics, some with years of professional experience, Sky ended up placing fourth. And while he didn't get a cash prize, he said that it was that fourth place finish that made him realize he could make something of himself. That competition gave
that
him
fourth
the
place that
confidence
fed
to
that
believe in
ego.
himself and fully pursue what he
That
wanted
fourth
to
place
pursue. After
placement.
Flappers, Sky had reached a point where
You know
he
that
was
meme of like on Twitter of like the Olympic it's like an Olympic like ranking or whatever, and then it's like if it's first it's a close up of like that guy and like he like pops the cork on the champagne, like bites his medal, starts flipping everybody off, and then like the next frame is like it's panned out and he's actually like fourth place or like third place, and like there's someone else like above him in second and first place. They're just looking at him like, what the fuck? that's what that reminds me of.
passionate about League of Legends that he wanted to give back to the community, and he decided to upload his first ever League of Legends video titled 5 Reasons Why Your Jungler
This video
Hates You.
popped off.
In this video, Sky didn't show
Back in the
gameplay
day,
or
I remember
promote a
this video.
certain
It
champion or
popped the
build.
fuck
He just
off.
ranted about the annoying things laners do in his games. It was a
And this is where it
simply
started.
edited, no frills video that just showcased
Like,
Sky's personality.
Through these like league videos, bro was getting invited to like conventions and events, and like as like as a content creator for companies, like they would sponsor him to come out. I met him at an event. It was crazy.
He posted it on Reddit, and the next morning, everything for him changed. The video absolutely blew up, being seen and shared by millions and giving Sky an instant platform and fan base. To this day, it is still one of the most popular videos on his channel with over 2.5 million views. From that point on, Sky realized what his true passion was. It wasn't just video games, and it wasn't just comedy. It was a combination of the two. Sky wanted to become the biggest League of Legends comedian in the world, ultimately with a goal to perform at esports events around the country and entertain hundreds of thousands of viewers at live competitions.
You don't have to be the biggest League of Legends comedian in the world to be a successful figure in the league space. If you want to be a successful comedian in the League of Legends space, just keep playing the game. Because that's the funniest thing you could do. After all these years, that's the funniest thing you could do is keep playing League.
While this dream
Continue to
never
be a
fully
League
came
player.
to fruition, his YouTube career had begun in earnest. From that point on, Sky dove in headfirst to League of Legends content, posting more comedic content on a regular basis and streaming occasionally on Twitch. While he eventually began posting gameplay videos, his early content stuck to a similar formula as his first viral hit. Sky would sit in front of his camera and speak, cracking jokes, giving advice to players stuck in elo hell, or ranting about specific champions, metas, or the League community as a whole. While he sometimes strayed from this format, these videos were clearly his bread and butter, regularly gathering at least 1 million views. Sky set himself apart from other League creators in the way that he wasn't
even by today's
player,
standards,
and he didn't
really
promote
good.
certain builds or play
That was
styles in
uploaded
order
10
to climb
years ago?
rank. His
Jesus,
content
you
was
guys.
purely for entertainment. It's important to note too
Jesus.
that Sky never limited himself to just League content. Even in his early days, he would also post AMAs and vlogs separate from the game, and while these videos definitely didn't gain as much traction as the League-related videos, they still got a few 100,000 views each. Not too shabby. Also, notable is the fact that Sky never shied away from heavy topics. From the get-go, he established an anything-goes style of comedy where nothing was off limits. His humor could be considerably dark, but was also mixed with a
I remember
lightheartedness
this
and
content
a
too.
relatability that added to his appeal.
I remember him like throwing in like a depression video every now and again. And then this is what made people feel like it was okay to be, because this was, guys, you have to understand, this was 10 years ago before people like ever spoke up about content creators, right? Like now we know like content creators are like pieces of shit and like PDFs and stuff, but this was 10 years ago. So like back then, being parasocial was like normal, and like you could like, if you saw like a lead or like a content creator like being this vulnerable, you really thought that like, oh dude, like this person understands me, because back then the internet was still like a smaller place too. So like you didn't have a lot of people, if you were going through like mental crises or mental illness or like some sort of depression, like no one in your real life understood you. But then like content creators would make this sort of content, and then you'd feel like, oh my gosh, like I really am not alone in this, because you wouldn't get that validation from outside the internet, right? So you got that validation from inside the internet. And like being parasocial back then is a lot different than being parasocial now. So
As a result of his newfound fame, Sky suddenly found himself in a comfortable financial position for the first time in his adult life, and he made a decision that, while noble on paper, would eventually lead to the storm of controversy he would find himself in years later.
Oof.
In 2013, Sky signed the lease for the first ever Sky House. The Sky House was a home owned by Sky that would house upwards 20 gamers and young creatives at a time. Tenants would pay Sky a rent payment that was a
gamers
fraction of the
and
normal cost of
young
living in LA,
creators,
and
you
Sky
guys.
would pay the rent, buy food, pay for utilities, and essentially serve as a live-in landlord. The house was full of Smash players, artists, and game designers, and was seen from the outside as a haven
well, good
for
thing I wasn't any of those. I was never a Smash player or a artist or a game designer.
young people who love video games. However,
I was a young
inside
person that loved video
the Sky
games.
House,
So.
things were anything but glamorous. While Sky continued to move the group into bigger and nicer homes as he made more money from YouTube, one of the first dwellings consisted of 24 people living in a 5-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. Each
What?
room was packed with
Guys, I have something to show you. Guys, if the stars aligned, if the timeline went a little different, you guys, if the timeline went just a tiny bit different, you know, like maybe, like think of the butterfly effect. Like maybe if I didn't get a certain lunch that day, or if I didn't get the time, if I came to the venue late, just like by a minute, or if like that person didn't hold the door open for me, you guys, in a different timeline, I might have been someone staying in this fucking raggedy ass 24-person 3-bedroom house. In a different timeline, bro. It's crazy to think of the possibilities. It's crazy to think of the possibilities, you guys.
with bunk beds, and privacy was completely out of the question. That being said, the cheap rent kept people interested, and the homes offered Sky an opportunity to game and make content with his friends while all living under the same roof. We'll get back to the Sky houses later.
Okay, Right after that picture was taken too, I told Sky, I was like, hey man, like, thanks for making your videos. I like, you know, like you talk about mental illness and stuff, and I think that's really fucking cool because like I think a lot more people in the league space than you think actually struggle with mental illness like that. And he's like, oh dude, you're so cool, man. Like, let me get you down my email or something. Here, I'll give you my email. Just message me and we'll like play some league. I'll add you on league. We'll play some games afterwards. I got home that day. I emailed him, gave him my league name, and he never messaged back. So what I'm saying, you guys, is in a different timeline, like under like just a small change, like just a small butterfly effect, you guys, things could have been very, very different for your boy. I, I could have been somewhere in this timeline, you guys. I'm not even lying.
But it's important to note when they first came into existence. In late 2013, Sky posted a gameplay video where he teamed up with Video Game Donkey, one of the biggest gaming channels on YouTube, and at the time, one of the most popular League of Legends creators alive.
Really popular
this partnership with
creator.
Donkey contributed to the success of Sky's gameplay videos, which became far and away his most popular type of video. Throughout 2013 into 2014, Sky continued posting and gaining followers and finding more and more success. In August,
this is also nostalgic for me too.
Sky posted a video completely unrelated to League of Legends that blew up to the point where it was even covered by several news outlets. Following the sudden death of Robin Williams, Sky released a message to the depressed. In this video, Sky
this was one of the videos where like I think I praised him for too. I was like, hey man, that video was like really powerful, really moving, yada yada yada. So
to the difficulties of living with depression. He put the difficult topic into digestible terms, and he shared struggles from his past. Including his own bouts of depression and the friends he had lost over the years. The video went viral and became one of the most popular videos on his channel with over 3 million views. At this point, to many people, Sky became more than just a video game YouTuber. He became a voice for those struggling with depression. Seeing this charismatic,
that's literally what I said.
Open up about his struggles with mental health brought Sky to a whole new level. Sky continued with his usual content through 2014 and 2015. His gameplay videos regularly getting 1.5 to 2 million views, while his other style could get anywhere from 300,000 to 1 million. It was clear that his fans preferred one type of content, but for the sake of keeping production consistent, Sky still put out videos of all kinds of topics and even began to branch into some different games, posting videos of Overwatch, CSGO, and other games in addition to his regular videos.
Rambo!
While this model has worked in the past for other creators, Donkey is an example, Sky's method of production, ultimately favoring quantity over quality, contributed to the downgrade of his channel that he would see in only a year's time or so. On the topic of quantity over quality, in January of 2016,
that's not a problem. Well, I mean, like, quantity isn't a problem. By today's standards, too, quantity isn't a problem because, like, by today's standards, as long as you have quality along with quantity isn't going to kill your channel. Look at Asmongold. He pumps out, like, 3 videos every single day, but, like, the quality is still there. Like, he's just a really good content creator. Like, say what you want to say about him, but you can't deny dude is a really good content creator. So quantity, like, over quality might kill your channel, but, like, quantity will not be the sole reason your channel dies, right?
Posting videos daily and continue that trend for 6 months. During this span, his gameplay videos still clearly his most popular were few and far between, and his views in general began to considerably fall. While he was still getting hundreds of thousands of views, his numbers were nowhere near where they were in previous years, and even his rant videos struggled to gain traction. This is when Sky's channel began to hit its rough patch. A rough patch that he would never get out of before being enveloped in scandal. We're getting to it, I promise. In June of 2016, Sky posted a video saying that he was going to take a step back, give himself a break, and come back to his channel better than before. He acknowledged that the quality of his videos had gone down since he started posting daily, and he said he was going to move forward putting more emphasis on production value, trying to make better videos for his fans. True to his word, Sky returned to YouTube soon after, and his videos did seem to have a fresh look to them. He had better thumbnails, more complex editing, and an all-around more polished look. That being said, the video still struggled to gain viewers, everything floating around 300 to 600,000. Not a bad number, but for a channel that used to regularly garner 1.5 million, it's a steep decline. Even his gameplay videos, which became much more frequent, were only getting a fraction of the attention they used to. The only video to hit 1 million views since his return was another video with Donkey, where Sky claimed to bring him out of retirement after Donkey had publicly quit League in 2015. One specific change that Sky made to his channel after his return,
his life got better
was a
after that.
color-coded system.
Bro got married, he had a kid.
Videos that dealt with heavy topics.
Quitting League was the best thing he could have done.
A small cartoon cloud of a different color, and if the cloud is black, it means things are getting dark. Sky used this to warn viewers if content could be seen as particularly offensive, but in addition to that, he took that development as an opportunity to branch into more serious videos. Sky would occasionally post videos where he would talk about his struggles with the game, his struggles with being a content creator, with friendships, relationships, mental health, you name it. He used his platform to talk about the lesser known, harder sides of being a full-time content creator, and one that suffered from depression to boot. There may not be one thing to point to as to why Sky's popularity started to hit a decline in early 2017. Maybe fans didn't like the serious stuff, or felt like the content was still lacking in quality. There are countless possibilities as to why Sky's subscribers and viewers began to tank, but it was around this time that Sky was approaching
people just
the beginning of the
stopped
end.
being interested.
Things really tanked in June of 2017 after posting a gameplay
Like, what you gotta understand is, like, your time as a content creator is fleeting because your audience grows either with you or grows out of you. And that's something that's happened since like YouTube existed, right?
Titled Jesse's Master Plan, Sky quickly posted an apology video.
I think a lot of people
the next
just
day.
probably grew
For
out of his
context,
content.
Sky claims that he and Jesse, another gaming YouTuber, had a disagreement prior to the game. And then during the video, Sky's malice is clear as he bullies Jesse about using him for subscribers and not being original in his own videos. The next day, Sky posted an apology video, but afterwards his viewers had dropped even more.
By the way, those
After the Jesse
captions are
video, with
Sony
rare
Vegas captions.
exceptions,
I know those
Sky
fonts
was
from anywhere.
only getting 50 to 200,000 views per video, a massive drop. To make matters worse, Sky later posted an ad video for an app called Summoner's War and received instant backlash from his fans, being branded a sellout, an accusation he did not take lightly. In October of 2017...
Okay, to be fair, back then, ads weren't as common on YouTube as they are now. Now, people, whenever, like, content creators, like, do, like, you guys, I'm so sorry, I have to do a sponsored stream. I have to put an ad in a video. I have to do a sponsored video. Dude, viewers are like, bro, get your bag. Like, dude, like, it's all good. Like, but back then, people were not used to seeing ads and sponsors everywhere. Now it's like become the norm. Now everyone's supportive. Like, dude, you get your bag. I know, like, you're trying to make it in the content creation space. Like, it's not easy, dude. Just play that. Just roll the fucking ads, bro.
Channel was struck by YouTube for its seemingly offensive racial content. Through the years, Sky had still maintained his anything goes style, and racial humor was by no means off the table. Why YouTube decided to act then and not earlier is a mystery, but this was
crying on
perhaps
camera?
the final nail in the coffin for Sky's YouTube channel. The channel was dark from October of 2017 to February of 2018, and when Sky got the channel back, his uploads became increasingly rare. He posted only 11 videos in all of 2018 and 6 in 2019. His channel hit another gap from December of 2019 to August of 2020 when he released his official statement on the Sky House drama. Yeah, it's time. A couple of things are important to note before we get into the drama that drowned Sky. First off, the Sky House was not just one location. As we mentioned before, as Sky's income grew from his YouTube career, he would move into bigger and bigger homes and house more and more people. The first Sky House was just a
how the
garage,
mighty
and the
have
last was a
fallen.
3-story mansion. The incidents we're about to discuss
Three-story
didn't
mansion.
happen all in one place, as they span a length of time over several years. Also, the amount of time...
That's just called a creator house now. It's crazy because back then it wasn't the norm, but now that's just called a creator house.
people spent in each Sky House varied. Some people only lived in the house for a number of months, while others were there from the beginning to the end. Some people genuinely did not know what was going on in the house at any given time, and not everyone was present for every event. More than anything else, the Sky House was like a gaming hostel, with people dropping by and staying for however long they saw fit before moving in. While Sky's YouTube channel was struggling, little did anyone know that that was probably the least of his worries. In January of 2020, after the lease on the latest Sky House was up, Sky decided to end the venture. I realized that nobody is even playing Smash, and I don't like most of the people in the house, Sky later said in an interview. We don't even have anything in common, and we don't do much together. At that point, Sky and his
Then why'd you let them live with you, bro?
And Sky got an apartment.
Does anyone else think it's just like such a weird idea to like just have random roommates you know nothing about, like regardless of money? Like, you don't know if this person's I never understood that. You don't know if this person's a psychopath or like a fucking like has a criminal history or just a straight up weirdo. Like, how do you trust someone like that being inside your place of residence?
Elsewhere in California. While
just
Sky
like a stranger
felt like he
that you met from like a fucking league or a Smash event.
A storm of corruption and crime that would rock the entire gaming community. In the summer of 2020, hundreds of allegations were raised against over 125 members of the Super Smash Bros. Community, with accusers alleging
the meme still goes strong today,
assault, and
except
abuse,
it's not a meme.
Some even involving minors. Among the
the
accused
facts
were some of the
still
most
stand today.
Commentators and content creators in the game. The community as a whole understandably responded with confusion, sadness, and outrage, and the blowout that came from these allegations resulted in numerous people retiring or receiving permanent bans from the competitive scene altogether. So, what does this all have to do with Sky? The answer is simple: the Sky House. The Sky House was a place for gamers to hang out, create content, and party. It was full of young people, some as young as 15, with no sort of supervision or guidance. Once the allegations came to light, it was clear that several of the incidents in question took place in the Sky House. Sky was called out personally for his ignorance.
I mean, that's not even ignorance. Like, ignorance is like, you don't know, right? Like, you didn't know that they were like, Sky knew fully well. Like, he for sure had to vet like the people that he's staying with, right? Probably not like a great job, but at least get their age, like their surface level details. So he knew these people were minors, and he still let them live in a house with, lo and behold, adults in the Smash community. You don't think weird shit's gonna happen?
Claiming that not only did he know that these things were taking place under his roof, but he actively did nothing to stop them. In the wake of the initial allegations, more and more people stepped forward, accusing Sky of being an abusive, controlling, manipulative landlord. People
like I said, remember that list from earlier in the video, the whole bully thing, right? During his upbringing. Now it's coming back to the surface as an adult.
The horrors that living with Sky could truly entail. On top of all that, stories of Sky's financial irresponsibility came out, with some people claiming that Sky owed them thousands of dollars. Sky went from operating one of the most sought-after gaming houses in the country to being public enemy number one in a matter of weeks. Since allegations rolled in from all angles, accusing different people of different things at different times, what we discuss here won't be in chronological order, but rather lumped together to discuss the environment of the Sky House as a whole first,
just like a singularity of chaos and
troubles, and ultimately the
and
cases
weird shit.
Of abuse. Sky's intentions were undoubtedly sincere when he first started the Sky House. As someone who had grown up feeling isolated and without friends or community, Sky wanted to create an environment where like-minded people could exist, work, and game in peace. That being said, as a result of Sky's initial success on YouTube and the Sky Houses being ultimately his venture in his name, he was clearly in charge. He was in charge of every aspect of the house, and some people have come forward to say that Sky was anything but a pleasant landlord. One member of the Sky House who lived with the group from 2014 to 2018, and who in interviews wanted to protect her identity and went by the name of SxndayGG, released a Google Doc outlining the houses themselves and how they were run during the time she stayed there. In the doc, she talks about the fact that since Sky was the
so there were multiple houses, but like, were people like continuously moving with him as like he kept getting new houses, like if you did, okay, not to like victim blame or anything, but if you like experience one thing in one house, do you think that that wouldn't follow you? Like if Sky is shitty to you at one house, does that not follow you to the next house? Like why would you not just take the opportunity while he's moving to another house to just dip out? Like I don't.
One in charge and the house has held so many people, a sort of hierarchy system ultimately developed. She states that people who had known Sky for longer, who were nicer to him, and who he liked most would be treated differently, with
I could
better
see this
rooms
happening.
and cheaper rent. Sky was also the
I mean, I was a nobody back then. I still am a nobody now. And he never emailed me back for that league game. So, Sky, if you're seeing this, right there, buddy.
say in all matters pertaining to the house and the group. If a unanimous decision occurred and then last minute Sky had an impulsive change in heart to do the opposite, we went with it, SxndayGG said. Sky was law. In addition to the supposed social hierarchy taking place inside the house, SxndayGG discussed the main rules that were in place in the Sky house. Firstly, do not, under any circumstances, wake Sky up. And second, no unauthorized visitors, no exceptions. Now, while these rules may seem fairly normal and reasonable, it wasn't the rules themselves that painted Sky as abusive. It was his response if they were broken. There's an instance in the Google Doc, with a screenshot as evidence, where Sky sends a massive group message to every resident. In the chat, he states that he saw an unauthorized visitor in the house, and as a result, he was gonna go through every single tenant's room and break something of value, unless he was given $350 in cash by 6 a.m. the following morning. I mean, my landlord is a hard ass too, but that seems a little much. The Google Docs also stated that if the kitchen was not cleaned,
Are
daily,
landlords just
Sky would either
allowed to make
increase
their
rent
own?
or
I don't
take
know
away
the
certain
legalities
privileges
behind being a
held by the
landlord.
tenants, such as access to his car or using communal laptops or gaming systems.
Like, are there
FFC and
laws
others
to
have stated
protect
that
tenants
a lot of the time, the
against,
punishments in
like,
place depended largely
landlords who
on
want to
Sky's
break your
mood.
shit,
Considering
or
Sky also struggled with mental illness, his moods could vary
or like
greatly,
house owners,
leading
I
to
guess.
almost constant tension. While sometimes it was all smiles and jokes, there are stories of him rubbing Cheeto dust onto tenants' electronics or dumping out a bottle of soda all over the floor after an argument.
Okay,
Not
but
even
this model of the Wii, was this the Wii U? That was a piece of shit. I'd rub Cheeto dust on that piece of shit too. That shit, this system fucking sucked.
snack food is safe. It seemed like living with Sky was anything but relaxing. If you wronged him in any way,
Not
you
even
could
their
find
snack
yourself with
food
your
is
rent
safe.
doubled, or even escorted
Around
out of the
Sky?
house
Oh,
altogether.
nah, I would've never
Once the
guessed.
stories of how the house was run began to spread, the image of the
man.
Sky house changed from a gaming haven to a totalitarian state. In addition to being a less than stellar landlord, another thing that began to plague Sky were stories of his financial troubles and instability, and how that paired with his unhealthy control over the house and its tenants. Sky began to borrow money from tenants and other friends under the guise that the funds were needed to pay rent or other costs associated with the Sky house. With the money, Sky would sometimes pay rent, but was just as likely to buy expensive dinners or luxurious items for himself. SxndayGG claims that Sky always needed a new piece of recording equipment or a new camera, and he frequently treated the group to expensive meals that they didn't have the money for. She even says that one time he asked her for rent money, and when she gave it to him, he went to Vegas to gamble that same night. Another story from the doc shows that when a tenant entered Sky's room without his permission, he threatened to spend money that was intended for the bills on items to make him more comfortable and prevent people from entering his room. For every time that these simple rules are just completely ignored, I'm going to spend money to prevent them in serious ways, the text message said.
Shock
This is money
knobs?
we need to survive.
Is
Today,
that
I will be
legal?
spending $1,750 on things to prevent entry to my room so haphazardly. Ultimately, Sky admitted to being in serious debt, claiming he owed $250,000 to various people and over $100,000 to the IRS. When his YouTube career first
they're
blew
coming
up,
for
Sky
you.
was making by some accounts about $20,000
Especially as a
to
content
$30,000 per
creator.
month. It's clear that he began to follow a
Ooh,
lifestyle that
the
required
IRS,
that kind of income.
they're
So
coming for
when his
you.
numbers began to go down and the money he was making from YouTube dwindled, his debt began to rise. The biggest story of Sky's financial problems, however, came from an allegation by someone named Samuelson, who claimed that Sky owed him $55,000. In a TwitLonger post, Samuelson explained that Sky called him out of the blue, emotionally
Dude,
distraught,
this is
and
crazy though that you would lend someone this amount of money. Even if you're like, even if you're like fucking Pokimane levels of successful, dude, like just this lump sum of money, like my rule is if I lend someone money, I like I don't do it with the expectation of them paying me back. You can never rely on people to ever pay you back. Like that's just how people are. That's just how money works. Like never let people borrow something that you definitively need. Like $55,000. Like this amount of money being lended to someone is insane to me, dude.
Said that he was in serious debt and could face legal persecution if he didn't pay back his debt to the IRS. Sky claimed he had gone broke because he had spent all of his money helping his dad receive cancer treatment. After some back and forth, Samuelson agreed to lend Sky
Wait, I thought he hated his dad.
$50,000 with a plan in place to pay it back in small increments at a time. To this day,
nope.
Samuelson claims he
That's the worst thing you could do, especially a payment plan. People can't even follow their credit cards. You think they can follow a payment plan? Especially a non like contracted one, like just a verbal like word of mouth, like, oh yeah, I'll pay you back this much in this month and this much and then the next month. Hell no, dude. You cannot rely on people to do that.
Not received a single penny. To make matters worse, the story about
especially
Sky's
if
father
it's people
cancer
you met through
wasn't
League
even
and
true.
Smash.
Sky
What the hell?
claimed he was scammed by his biological father into giving him money for treatment he didn't truly need. But Samuelson claimed that the money he loaned Sky was not used to pay any IRS
History repeats itself?
debts regardless. Instead of paying me back, he would treat his roommates to free dinners, free video games, and even free trips to Vegas, which included him buying a couple roommates prostitutes and hotel rooms, Samuelson said. He literally took my money and gambled it at Vegas and a local casino. This is a friend I trusted. It will take a long time to heal from this. Sky also used the money Samuelson loaned to him to finance a larger mansion for the group. Sky would then take credit for funding the house entirely on his own, sometimes with Samuelson with him in the room. The twitlonger also corroborated many of FFSAID's statements about life in the house. The social hierarchy, the manipulation, the gambling, these were all things that Samuelson also alleged were present in the Sky house. Samuelson even claimed that, while he wouldn't name names, there was someone who Sky owed even more money to. No allegations against Sky and the Sky House as
I feel like I know who
are more serious than the ones of harassment.
I'll pull it up after this video, but
statements made about how Sky
I don't know if the
ran
amount
place,
is that much. Actually,
it's clear that it was a toxic and hectic environment. However, in 2020, several people came forth, saying that not only was Sky an abusive and unhinged landlord, he was also responsible for creating an environment where abuse could happen so easily in the first place. Several women who lived in the Sky House said that the environment was extremely unsafe for women and for minors. There was often free-flowing alcohol and drugs, and some minors claimed that they were regularly pressured.
A house with adults is not a safe place for minors? Who would have fucking thought?
Into getting intoxicated with the group. Other women say that Sky himself was a misogynist that put very little effort into protecting his female tenants. Some even say he purposely didn't learn their names and essentially treated them like they didn't exist. Ultimately, the Sky House proved to be a dangerous place for any young person to live. While there are scattered reports of abuse present in the Sky
hot take, but the internet is not a safe place for any minor to be. Like any internet or internet adjacent related spaces are not safe for minors to be. And you guys are seeing that in real time. Every single fucking day there is a new accusation coming out, and it takes place right there in the DMs. It takes place right there on Twitter. Like that's my hot take, you guys. Like it's never been safe.
My house, the biggest stories are the ones involving Jisoo, Zero, MacD, D1, and Keitaro. Jisoo, an animation artist born Jacqueline Koei, was probably the most vocal accuser against the members of the house. She served as a catalyst in the majority of the accusations against Sky. In a huge Google Doc full of screenshots of text conversations, as well as a later WordPress post, Jisoo described the horrifying situation she found herself in. Coming from an abusive household, Jisoo was eventually pressured and, in her words, trafficked out of her home life by her eventual abuser when she was just 15 years old. The man was 10 years older than her.
The
She
man was
regarded
a
him
melee
with a lot of
player.
respect as he was a former Smash Pro, and he took her under his wing under the promise of the two of them designing a game together. During the time she lived with him in the Sky House, Jisoo claims that her abuser took total control of her life. He kept her cooped up in a room working on their game, preventing her from interacting with other members of the house, and abused her regularly. Since Jisoo was a minor, her abuser, later revealed to be Jesse Vidjo Werner, also took complete financial control of her life as well. Jisoo also claims that another Smash Pro, Gonzalo Zero Barrios, would show her sexually explicit material on his computer against her wishes. She later called out Zero by name on Twitter, and after two other women came forward alleging that Zero had held inappropriate conversations with them online, Zero eventually admitted
Bro, you know what?
and left.
All Sky needed, like, on top of all this, like, all Sky needed was some fucking, like, methamphetamines, and he would be straight up running a trap house, like, a straight up trap house. Like, bro wasn't running a content creator house. Bro wasn't running like a Smash house. He was running a fucking trap house. Like, if there was just like all they had alcohol, obviously, you know, like if it publicly came out that they were also like cooking drugs in here, like bros just straight up had a trap house, like the Sky trap house.
The Smash scene entirely. In addition to the minor related allegations against him, allegations also came out claiming Zero was abusive and manipulative towards his girlfriend, a woman named Vanessa, who also lived in the Sky House. Throughout all of this abuse, Jisoo claims that Sky knew what was going on and did nothing to stop it. She said he perpetuated a toxic and dangerous environment where members of the house would often use racist and sexist language against her and other female members of the house. And as she was only a teenager,
I think his first mistake was letting the house be open to minors. I feel like that's common sense.
She felt powerless to stop any of it. I don't know what Sky thinks of me, she said in her Google Doc. I don't know what Sky is ever thinking about besides himself. He is so manipulative, unfeeling, and flippant that I wrote him off as a psychopath. Jisoo did eventually leave the Sky House, leave Vidjo, and create her own brand under her own name, finally reaching freedom and independence. While Jisoo is undoubtedly a survivor,
that's some
and
crazy
no
trauma to
that
have,
she went through hell, some of her claims did eventually come under some hot water of their own. In a 2021 YouTube video entitled The Truth Behind the Sky House, YouTube Detective Technicals dove into Jisoo's allegations against Sky and Zero in particular, and picked many of her statements apart, claiming that she was not being entirely truthful in her statements about Sky's relationship with her.
He just did a Fortnite dance.
The point was that Jisoo had become a voice for women in gaming, not because she actually wanted justice, but because she wanted to vent out her frustrations, and simply wanted to ruin the careers of Sky and Zero. There are screenshots in Technical's video of the chats between Jisoo and Sky where Jisoo effectively tells Sky his life is over and she's going to ruin him. There are also conversations that show Sky actually making an effort to be there for her, offering to call CPS or kick her abuser out of the house. While we can't know everything that happened between the two, what we know for sure is that the abuse that Jisoo suffered under Sky's roof led to their relationship never being able to heal. In addition to Jisoo's allegations, other members of the Sky House.
Yeah, that was a really good point that was on the screen. I don't know if you guys read it. If Sky called CPS, he would have gotten like jail time. He would have never called CPS. If CPS came and knew that Sky was running a house where minors were living with not their guardians, but with like random adults that they met at fucking Super Smash Brothers events, the owner of that house would be under like, there's got to be like criminal charges there. Like he would have been 100% fucked. Sky was just saying he would call CPS just to like, probably just to like, you know, make himself look better. But if he called CPS, he would have been royally fucked. Even more so than he is now.
Being called out for abuse. McCain MacD Lavelle was accused of inappropriately touching a member of the house during a party. When the story first...
I just want you guys to pay attention. Let me see if this zooms out anymore. The title of this, not the video, the video title kind of overlaps it, but the title of the Reddit post, my own experiences with MacD and his predatory behavior. Dude, this was all the way back then too. So things they haven't changed much, have they? Weirdos have always been a part of the internet. And if it's not a Reddit post, it's now a Google Doc, a twit longer. The more things change, man, the more they stay the same.
Members of the Sky House also found themselves being called out for abuse. McCain MacD Lavelle was accused of inappropriately touching a member of the house during a party. When the story first came to light, it wasn't taken seriously and was largely ignored, but MacD shortly after released a statement admitting to the wrongdoing, claiming he had been drinking and got too touchy and flirty. Later
Oh my
saying
God,
he
it's
was going to
always
take a break from the gaming and
it's always the alcohol. The alcohol just brought out a side of me, and I'm just so sorry that I drank and then I touched someone inappropriately, and I put my hand that I had full autonomous control over even when I was drunk onto their buttocks. I'm so sorry. Oh my God, it was the alcohol.
social media community. Duran D1 Mangret was accused of abusing a woman while she was intoxicated at a hotel, and later bragging to
If it's
other
not
members of
apparent
the
to you,
house
I think
about it.
alcohol
While he
is the
initially
biggest
denied
bitch
the
excuse you could
allegations,
use for
more
anything.
information came to light that showed that he
Like, because I personally have been drunk, and I've never done anything bad while I was drunk. So like I don't believe in like using alcohol as any sort of excuse.
knew exactly what he had been doing. Lastly, Richard Keitaro King was accused of spending the night with an underage girl during the party at the Sky House, an allegation that Keitaro admitted to shortly after. As more and more allegations piled up, Sky came under more and more fire for operating the properties where the abuse was taking place. There was even one instance where a fan on Twitter claimed Sky had taken advantage of him during a FanimeCon, but the report was never verified and the details
That's
are
crazy.
hazy. More than anything,
Yo, that's crazy. Sky was also drunk. I accepted and we parted ways. Dude. I was in a very inebriated state. I wasn't coherent. Sky met me in a public place at the con, also very intoxicated. Bro, that's crazy. I'm saying, you guys, it's crazy to think about like just how things could have like ended up.
Sky was seen as complicit in the abuse, and many people believe that he knew what was happening in the Sky Houses, but he simply didn't care enough to stop it. Add to that the fact that Sky historically didn't get along well with the women in the house, and doesn't seem too far-fetched to think that Sky didn't put much effort into the safety of his young tenants. In July of 2020, Sky took to Twitch to respond to the allegations, and the stream proved to be a complete disaster. Sky was all
Dude,
over
I
the
think I
place,
remember this,
emotionally
too.
trying to cover all of
It
his
was
bases
nuts.
while not actually providing any concrete answers or responses to the issues at hand. He was frantic and clearly very distraught, and many people watching the stream felt like he was stalling or trying to avoid the blame, making himself a victim. Add to that the fact that the stream was monetized and commenters began taking his page into Twitter asking for the stream to stop. Ultimately, one of Sky's roommates pulled the plug on his router and the stream went dark. Sky tweeted afterwards admitting that the stream was a mistake, but vowing that he was doing his best to make things right and get all of the information out to the public. Then came his My Statement YouTube video in August of the same year. In the 90-minute
My
video, Sky
response.
did his best to tackle every
My
single
statement.
allegation that was levied against him. He spoke
I'm
about
saying,
each
bros,
abuser and victim that had
more
come to his
things
attention,
change, they stay-
detailed
the more
what
they
he
stay
knew
the
about
same.
each situation and how he responded. He showed text screenshots and receipts to prove his conversations. He also went into detail about his debt, the rules and regulations in place in the Sky House, and finally discussed taking accountability and trying to do right in the future. While Sky took the time to respond to every allegation, by no means did he admit to all of them, specifically ones pertaining to the Sky House rules and the money he owed. He claimed a lot of allegations were taken from instances out of the context or statements that were flat out wrong, and he responded accordingly with his side of the story.
I wonder
In a
what
nutshell,
happened to
throughout
the houses
statement,
during
Sky
COVID.
acknowledged that numerous abuses took place under his roof, and while he said he knew of some but not all the events mentioned, he was not complicit.
Like,
and
was the
did
Sky
not
House still a
condone
thing during
the behavior
COVID?
in any way. He admitted he was in massive debt, including owing Samuelson tens of thousands of dollars, but said he intended to pay back every penny of the money he owed. He tried to refute the existence of a hierarchy system in the house, saying that he didn't give anyone monetary special treatment, and he said that he planned to continue to stream and make content at least until he could pay off his debts. But if it was clear that the community no longer wanted him, he would stop. Finally, he took accountability for his misogyny in the house, apologizing to women he felt like he had wronged. No matter whose side you take, it is clear that Sky at least made an effort to respond to everything that was said against him. His statement drew mixed reviews from the community though. While some respected his efforts to truly clear the air, others felt that he was still avoiding taking
This was back in
ultimately
2022
making himself
or
the victim.
2020.
Even
sorry.
while Sky acknowledged his own faults, those faults were usually wrapped up in a web that made them
You guys
seem
think
like the
he's
work of
changed
someone
since
else.
then?
While he seemed determined
I've
to
got
get
an
everything
idea
in
that
the
he
open,
probably
it
hasn't.
seemed
Now
just
I'm
as
gonna show you
determined,
guys
if not
something
more
later
so,
that
to
will
save
like
his image.
help
Needless to
prove my
say,
point
things
here.
were never the same for Sky. The Sky House was a thing of the past, and with his statement, Sky had tried to put the drama that came with it behind him. He began streaming consistently, but his YouTube channel, already struggling following his earlier fight with the platform, was silent from the time of the statement until November of 2021, when he released a video essentially saying that he wanted to officially move on and start to make new content all over again. In this video, he also plugs the aforementioned Technicals video, saying that it does a great job of clearing a lot of things while also holding him accountable for being a bad property manager. Technicals video did manage to get Sky some sympathy, with hashtag apologize to Sky briefly trending on Twitter. From there, however,
I do not
Sky's channel
remember that.
sputtered to a stop. With only 2 videos in 2021, 4 in 2022, and 1 in 2023, his last stream was in September of 2021. And none of us have seen or heard from him since. Sky Williams had maybe the most dramatic rise and fall of any League of Legends content creator that the game has ever seen. He became famous overnight and set out to be the world's leading League of Legends comedian. And for a time,
Olaf was crazy,
one could argue
man.
he was. He was not only one of the game's most popular and well-liked creators, but he was also a voice for those struggling with mental illness. He started the Sky House as a way for young creatives to have a safe space to game, live, and have fun together. Over time, he began to lose steam, a story we've seen time and time again with content creators of all mediums, until everything crashed to a halt.
That's gonna happen. Like, that's gonna happen regardless. You're always gonna lose steam as a content creator. You're always gonna have ups and downs, but this is just a whole different level.
The Sky Houses he ran were much darker.
Also because it was a different time back then too, like the time frame that this happened. Now I feel like you can get canceled and then come back for it, i.e. Logan Paul, Dr. Disrespect,
While we can never know the
PewDiePie.
true extent of what went on inside those houses, we can know for sure that dozens of people constantly felt unsafe. Sky was painted as a controlling, manipulative dictator who created a toxic environment where abuse was inevitable, and then turned a blind eye when it happened. He was financially irresponsible.
He should never fucking let minors stay in his
garnering
house.
hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt by borrowing from trusted friends. The damage to his image proved irrevocable, and despite his best efforts to build himself back up, he just...
And then what happened a few years later? What happened a few years later? Flickr happened a few years later, you guys.
To make content anymore. It looks like after all this time, maybe the community has spoken. He had an incredible run.
History repeats
but an
itself.
Equally incredible fall from grace. Thank you for watching LOL Athlete. We hope you enjoyed this journey into the troubled life of Sky Williams.
Dope. I loved it. Also, I wanted to show something just to follow up on that video. I saw it in passing on Twitter like last year, and I just wanted to confirm this, all right? Do you guys think Sky Williams has changed since all of that happened? Like paid back his debts and like has been more responsible with his money and his influence and stuff? Let's check. I'm gonna search something up really quick. When was this posted? November 17th, 2023. So we're in August now. It's basically last year. All right, basically last year. Dyrus had a little mask off moment like last year on Twitter. But one of them was this: to keep Sky Williams accountable. Of the $8,000 I lent you, which we agreed you would pay or repay or donate to charity, you've covered 1.5K of it in the last 6+ years. You also agreed to make a video showing efforts to make amends charity. It was done a year ago. Hope to see it soon. Sky Williams here in December 2022 says, got the money, like all your money, made the video, I'll spread it out like you want me to. I love you for giving me the chance to restore myself while also earning your forgiveness. That warmth isn't something I deserve, but feeling it is sweeter than I can describe in words. The first video should be out before New Year's. And did that video ever come? Let's look for like charity. Oh, whoops, I spelled that wrong. Charity. Still nothing? Just 4 months ago? Oof. Oof. All right. But yeah, the more things change, the more they stay the same. History really likes to repeat itself, so